Hey, I'm Andrew Smith, or Mr. Smith, or Professor Smith to my students, and I'm a tenured instructor of English at Tennessee Tech, and I primarily teach at the lower divisions. And what that means at my institution is I teach the first year writing courses, and we have a 2-semester writing curriculum of 1010 and 1020. I also teach a general topics in American Lit, not a canon of American Lit, just fun topics in American Lit. And I've always believed in a student-centered education. I've always believed in kind of the philosophies of radical education I learned from scholars like Bell Hooks and Paulo Freire when I was in grad school in the 1990s in Murfreesboro, Tennessee at MTSU, where I earned in the MA in literature. I'm here with my student today, Ro, and Ro is going to share some experiences that he had this semester with an ungrading format that we tried to use in English 1020, an ungrading co-grading format. So basically, at the conclusion of each assignment, the student would be required to complete a checklist. And this would be the opportunity for them to ask me any questions that they had and also to assess their own learning. But there was no formal teacher takes it home, sweats bullets for 10 hours, and spits out a grade that the student may or may not comprehend, may or may not read, but rather the burden after the work is to be done before the grade, and the burden of deciding the grade is shared with the students. And Ro's a non-traditional learner, meaning he's a little bit older than his classmates, and I figured he kind of got it. So I asked him to share a few of his thoughts with me today about being ungraded or grading himself in or co-grading himself in English 1020 this semester. So my colleague or my student colleague, Ro from Tennessee Tech here in Cookeville.
So I just want to say, first of all, that I've really enjoyed this English class, and like my background's a little bit different than my peers. I'm a transfer student. I'm a little bit older, but also this is the third English 102 type of class that I've taken. And I also come from an AP English background where I took both AP English Lit and AP English Lang. And I would always make like 90s, like 85, 90s on my essays. But the comments I would get on my essays are just really vague. And any improvements I made wouldn't improve my grade, or they would actually like decrease my grade. And so coming into this class, it was really refreshing, and like having the pressure taken off of the assignments like really allowed me to just write in a way that I wanted to write. And it also allowed me to like figure out areas where I wanted to improve on. And if I wanted extra help in that, I could go out and get that help from Mr. Smith or from the writing center or from my other peers in the class. And it didn't feel restrictive. Like that's one word I would use in my other English classes where the writing felt really restrictive. Like I had a rubric, the teacher had expectations for that specific paper, and my essays weren't inspired. And the essays here in this class felt really inspired, and I feel like I can actually write, which is something that I hated before. And finish like going through this class makes me want to write more, which is not something I've ever wanted to do before. So,
Did you in any way feel that that was too much responsibility, or did you like being responsible for your own, that autonomy, that sense of autonomy and self-responsibility? We talk about those are buzzwords that people love to use, but actually handing back some of that responsibility to you, did that feel like a burden, or was it scary at all, or did you like it, or
no,
what
actually, like
would you say to a student who's I might have in a future class about that burden of your sharing the responsibility?
it actually felt like a burden was being taken off, which is like kind of opposite what you would think, where there is an expectation from the teacher, but it's not a serious expectation of, oh, you better have these requirements, or like if you don't have these requirements, then you're not going to get a good grade on your paper. Whereas in this class, it felt like, yes, there is like a rubric, there's a checklist, but as long as you like wrote the paper, you were checking off those like requirements on a checklist like really easily. Like it didn't feel like the rubric was ambiguous. Like it 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 didn't feel like there was room for interpretation on the grading aspect of it. It was really straightforward, which is why it didn't feel like there was a burden.
So one of my great motives for doing it this way, Ro, was that what I was finding out was that some of the things that we had previously expected to be the official reason why this class was so important, that some of those reasons were maybe a fiction of our own invention, and that, or that some of those criteria that maybe your prior instructors had, or that other instructors in this discipline had, were actually sort of inventions that, or maybe eccentricities, or even nuanced, minutiae that were specific to this field, and that didn't really export themselves to the idea of being confident in writing in other situations, because the writing situation that we have is very artificial, is very prescribed, and there's going to be real world writing that you hopefully have the opportunity to do in other classes, but especially in real life and in your career, that this course is intended to build confidence in. And I feel like maybe that confidence aspect was increased by this model. Would you say that it did help you with your confidence?
Yeah, like before coming into this class, I dreaded English. Like I did not want to write anything. Like the most amount of writing I would ever want to do in life is write an email. And after coming out of this class, especially on this poetry assignment, like I didn't just write one poem, I wrote like 5 different poems. So it's like I want to write more. I want to like improve that skill after taking this class, which now I feel like is an important like aspect of my life now. So it definitely did like up my confidence in my own writing ability as well.
Well, that's perfect. This is kind of what I intended, and because I do want people to actually watch this, I'm going to make it short, because I know a long video people are less inclined to watch. So I want to thank my student Ro. Ro's a student here at Tennessee Tech in Cookeville, and he took English 1020 with me this semester. Apparently, he's taken it before, and it didn't work out, and it worked out great this semester. He's coasting to a very strong finish in the class, as most of his classmates are, because it was set up to create the widest avenue for success for all the students. And I just really wanted to have a respectful dialogue with one of my students to put into concrete terms that people like myself could understand, and maybe encouraging other teachers to consider being a little bit more progressive with their grading philosophy. So thank you so much, Ro.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, for an excellent year also.
All right, it's been awesome. Thanks.